You've finally arrived, though you didn't intend to. This is a small, sleepy town where the impossible thrives and bizarre runs rampant. Sit down, relax, and join us here in Uncanny Cove. You run your hands through your hair as you leave the safety of those familiar fluorescent lights. Your shift is over, but your trek home has only just begun. 14 blocks, you think to yourself as you follow the glow of the street lamps lining the sidewalk. It's a walk you've grown all too used to. As your steps begin to drag and the mind begins to drift, you catch a glimpse of another person walking on the inner block parallel to your route. The glimpse is only slight, as the figure disappears behind the buildings across from you. How strange, you think to yourself. Of all these late-night shift walks home, you've never once seen someone else walking out on the road. Perhaps you could make friends. Deciding against that notion, you continue to trudge forward, still hoping to see the stranger again at the next block. As predicted, the figure appears once more. The street lamps seem to shadow out all detail, but you can tell they're facing forward and walking at a pace identical to yours. Then, as quickly as the block came, you've lost sight of the figure behind the next row of buildings. You can't put your finger on it, but there's something off about the stranger's pace. The uneasiness begins to creep as your heart rate increases. You don't know why, but you don't want to see the stranger a third time. To avoid seeing the stranger again, you decide to hold back your pace for a moment. Surely there's nothing sinister about this character. However, you'd rather avoid any odd late-night interaction from strangers. Beginning your walk once more, at a slightly brisker pace, you hold your breath as you approach the next alley opening to the parallel block sidewalk. To your horror, the figure appears once again, despite your attempts to lose them with the changed pace. In fact, their pace is now far quicker, as if to force you to move faster. Your breath starts to quiver as the stranger once more disappears behind the buildings. Your mind begins to panic, but then you hatch an excellent plan. A surefire way to see if this is all a coincidence or not. The next block, you'll stop dead in the middle of the opening. If the figure keeps moving, then there's no way they're following you. Right. The opening comes, and you plant your feet firmly on the cement, swinging your body square with the opening of the alleyway. To your horror, the figure does exactly the same, maybe even slightly earlier than you did. Sweat starts to bead on your brow as you turn face and break into a full-on sprint. Isn't worth investigating any further. You need to get home safely. As you dash past the next alley opening, you look over to find the figure sprinting as well. However, instead of facing forward like before, the figure has now cocked its head to the side, its gaze squarely upon you. You can't see their eyes, but you can feel the heavy stare. Your breaths are now uncontrollable. Your eyes are glued in sheer terror as the figure's head stays turned towards you. Then all at once, they've disappeared behind the next building. With the figure no longer in sight, you screech to a halt. You don't dare cross the next alley opening. You don't want to see what's waiting there. Instead, you turn right and decide to cut through the neighborhood. You haven't walked through a neighborhood like this since you were younger, and it almost completely calms you to pass by illuminated houses as opposed to the rows of darkened closed shops on your regular path. Before you know it, you're fishing your apartment key out of your pocket and entering your humble abode. Within minutes of being home, the experience with the stranger on the street seems almost like a dream. Of course, there was an explanation to such an odd encounter. There had to be. But you're too tired to worry about that now. At long last, you're settling into your bed. With the lights off and the covers pulled up to your face, you silently start to drift. Until you hear a rustling. Maybe not a rustling, but a shuffling. No, not shuffling. Footsteps. A sickening feeling pinches your stomach as you freeze. You don't know why, but you don't want to look out your bedroom door and into the hallway. However, the shuffling footsteps seem to be growing louder. With all your might, you force yourself upright into your bed and gaze into the dim nightlight-lit hallway. You see the figure pacing back and forth in the hall, its head cocked towards you once more. The mundane and routine often find ways to shake things up themselves. So be careful. The next time you walk home, try not to take the path through Uncanny Cove.